Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming this evening and spending some time with me and allowing me the opportunity to talk to you about our use tax initiative that is on the ballot next Tuesday the 2nd. Kind of the agenda for this evening is I'm going to go through some information, share some information with you about the use tax initiative, the Kearney question. I'm going to discuss why it's important and extremely beneficial for the city. And then I'm going to give you the opportunity I'm going to open it up and you can ask me any questions you have. And then from there, we'll go over some of the projects and information that we have identified for the revenues that the use tax will generate. So as I mentioned, on November 2nd, voters will have an opportunity to provide funding for essential city services such as public safety, parks. The funding will go to a city initiative to boost funding for police, pets, parks, and pathways. That's what we've identified the first year's funding for. A use tax of 3% would only be collected on goods purchased from out-of-state vendors who are currently not paying local tax. So I'm going to repeat that again. A use tax of 3% would only be collected on goods purchased from out-of-state vendors who are currently not paying local sales tax. There's two pieces to this initiative, and the legislation was passed in the state of Missouri that also ties our vehicle sales tax to the same initiative. It's very unfortunate. For years and years and years, we already pay vehicle sales tax. When you buy a vehicle in Kansas right now, you pay that vehicle sales tax to Missouri and it funnels back through the city. Unfortunately, legislation in the state of Missouri is tied to the use tax initiative that if we don't pass a use tax, all tied together, even though it's two separate things, by November of 2022, then that revenue is at risk. We will no longer be able to collect vehicle sales tax, meaning right now, if a Kearney resident goes to Overland Park, Kansas to buy a vehicle, that sales tax comes back to the city of Kearney, which is extremely important for us to be able to fund our basic services. If we don't pass a use tax, then that gives an advantage to not shop local. It gives you an advantage to go out of state and buy a vehicle somewhere else where we will no longer be able to collect that tax. Keep in mind, it's our local businesses that support our schools, support our soccer teams, support our community. We need to support our local businesses. We do not need to give anybody a reason not to support our local businesses. We don't want to give them a reason to go somewhere else to support other communities. So, the city of Kearney currently receives tax revenue on those purchases. If we do not adopt a use tax by November of 2022, that will have a negative impact on our city budget and how we serve our residents. So the purpose of our proposal is to assess the same tax rate on out-of-state purchases as on local purchases. It's not a double tax. You'll never pay both. So it'll be equivalent to the same sales tax rate as if you buy the item in Kearney or you buy it online. So it's not a double tax. You'll never pay both, and it levels the playing field. It generates local revenue and helps our community. What is a local use tax? A use tax is a purchase on goods by Missouri residents from out-of-state vendors. Products exempt from the use tax would be products that are exempt currently from sales tax would still be exempt from the use tax as well. There's no change in that. I already pay sales tax. Is it the same thing? No. The sales tax applies to purchases made at local retailers within Missouri, while the use tax would apply to purchases made from out-of-state vendors. Purchases cannot and will never fall into both groups and will never be taxed twice. How can the use tax benefit the community? As I've identified, we are earmarking to the penny our revenue that we are generating from the initiative, that we will generate from the initiative, to police, pets, parks, and pathways. And I'll go in a little more detail here in a few minutes on the projects that we've identified for that. How can a use tax benefit my community? Times are changing. Times are we're always evolving and changing. As internet purchases increase, people like to pay for convenience. Our local revenues continue to decrease. The funds generated from a use tax will be used to pay for vital municipal service, including public safety, additional sidewalks, parks, and emergency equipment. What is the rate of a use tax? The local use tax rate is the same as the local sales tax rate. It's not a penny more, a penny higher. It is the same rate. If that rate would increase, the use tax rate would increase. They would always be the same. The same could be said if it would decrease. The use tax rate would decrease as well. At this time, I'll go ahead and talk about kind of what we are looking to utilize the first round of funding. And let me pull that up here. Hey, Ryan, could you maybe pull up our FAQ, and then that way maybe if you share screen it, anybody joining online could possibly see it as well?
Yes, sir.
Or I don't know if I can share my screen. I'm having difficulty. If you've not already, if you go to the City of Kearney's website, kearneymo.us, at the top title, the very last box, is a use tax tab where we put a lot of good information out there available for you at your convenience. It has the official ballot language, and then several of the frequently asked questions that I've received as mayor, that our board members have received, and staff has received. I pre-recorded some videos, and then also other members of the community that are supporting the initiative are involved in that as well. Right now, as of 2018, the Missouri Department of Revenue estimated that if Kearney had a use tax in place, which keep in mind, over half of the cities in the state of Missouri already have a use tax in place. A lot of our neighboring cities already have a use tax in place. If the voters would have approved a use tax for the city of Kearney, it would have generated an additional $600,000. Where would you rather that $600,000 go? To Overland Park, Kansas, that doesn't care about the city of Kearney, that doesn't invest in our community, that doesn't pay for police service and protection? Or would you rather leave that money here in Kearney, where you have a voice and you have the ability to control what that money's spent on and to see it work every day for you? Out of that $600,000 on year one, we are earmarking $150,000 to allocate 2 new police officers, vehicles, equipment, training. Seems like a lot for 2 positions. Vehicles are expensive, training's position. Keep in mind, take that average salary of roughly $40,000 for each of those positions, and add 35 to 40% of that base salary onto that for employer-paid taxes, benefits, certifications. $100,000 will allow Kearney to hire a first animal control officer and equipment. That's a full-time position. That's vehicle and equipment to be successful and safe at that position, and upgrades to our facilities that we currently house animals at our street barn. that would also allow us to continue and expand our relationship that we have with Dr. Lear and his facility, who we partner with currently. $200,000 will help in the creation of Hall Park. Many years ago, the family generously donated it's the green space at the northeast corner of Prospect and 92, the green space there. That family donated that ground to the city of Kearney 10 or 12 years ago. It's been a little bit. They donated it to us, dedicating that ground with the agreement that it would be a senior park. So out of the gate, out of the funding put aside, that would allow us $200,000 a year to debt service a new community park, a senior park there at that location, as well as addition of new pickleball courts. And then pathways. $150,000 will be dedicated to a Nation Road sidewalk from Cottonwood Creek north to Woodridge Avenue. The Cottonwood Creek subdivision does not have a sidewalk that connects to the hills of Westwood. There's a big gap even at the hills of Westwood. Last year, the city was fortunate enough to get some grant funding that allowed us to work with a local vendor, contractor, Mega KC, who did great work, Mega KC, and we've got a sidewalk to the north end of hills of Westwood and a safe connection to Dogwood and then down Cedarwood. However, at which we're going to go through in some detail here momentarily, there's dozens of projects in our community that we just currently don't have the funding for, that we can improve safety, we can improve safe routes to school, safe routes for our pedestrians. So every penny that essentially we would keep local, that we would control year upon year, our residents, our taxpayers would have the ability to have a voice and help us improve our community instead of send it somewhere else. I'd like to go ahead and show you a little bit more on the other pathway pieces that we have identified. Obviously, because $150,000, there'll be other pathways and other projects that we'll need to get to. So first, to where we've identified the first one, there is a handout in the audience I provided that kind of has a map and then some information on what I'm going to go through as well. Feel free to take that with you and share it. And we've got some more up here if you need it. We talked about the Nation Road project, the connection. Cedarwood currently, we just had this piece done. Cottonwood Creek, a piece of Cottonwood Creek, and then this whole front piece of Hills of Westwood. There is not a sidewalk, so all those kids currently do not have a safe route to school. Besides that, we're really big on connectivity and walkability in our community, to where we've consistently the last several years have improved sidewalks of Washington Street, Prospect Street, 92 Highway, Porter Ridge Apartments, 233 Highway. There's a lot of areas that we still need to address in our community. This is a great opportunity to start chipping away at that list. Sandbar Drive connection. There is a piece from the Cedarwood subdivision to Sandbar Drive. This piece of sidewalk right here is missing. So connecting A and B, getting that done, will totally connect the west side of our city to where you can take a safe path under the interstate and totally connect our city. So a mom, a dad, a kid could hop on their bicycle from Cottonwood Creek and safely have a route to get to the other part of our community. Regency Drive sidewalk, that's probably the third most biggest sidewalk that I get asked about all the time. Why do we not have a sidewalk down Regency? We see kids walking down Regency all the time, going to and from school. That project would be our third project. And, you know, I think anybody that's lived in Kearney for any amount of time would understand the importance, the safety aspect of that piece of the project. Mac Porter connections. This is one that I'm really excited about. Once again, we're talking about being able to connect all of our pathways. This piece here would provide an extension to the new sidewalk by the senior center under I-35 and provide safety, a new crosswalk from under the interstate across 33 Highway to Mac Porter Park. So that would allow you essentially the ability to walk, run, or ride your bicycle and connect you to any part of our trail system. You could start at Jesse James Park and through either roads or sidewalks be able to ride all the way to our South Fishing River trails. My family, we live over by the high school, and I just think it's really cool to think that my son could safely hop on his bike with his friends and get to Jesse James Park. North Grove Corners, that's the next identified project. James Point subdivision back here, the back end of North Grove. There's a piece of sidewalk there that was never developed, that's missing as well. The North Jefferson sidewalk, that is from Dollar General through downtown here. There's a lot of missing sidewalk that goes in front of, like I said, Dollar General, where Fox and Fire is now, the apartments, Major Street, and then right here on Main Street, really old sidewalk that grass is pretty much growing over. A Stone Lake Drive connection. Once again, we're talking about safety of an additional crosswalk, and right where our city facility is, there's a whole section of sidewalk there on the west side of Stone Lake Drive that is missing. That would provide the residents in that neighborhood a safe connection to not only the sidewalks that get the kids to school, but it also provides an improved crosswalk safety. Like if you see where we did the new crosswalk and sidewalk connection for Brookhaven about a year ago, the push button really bright LEDs, and like we have a 92 at Porter Ridge as well, kind of the same safety improvements. The East 92 Highway sidewalk extension. Our previous sidewalk project went from, didn't make it in front of the golf course, east towards the church. So that's an extension that we would like to see done as well. The Dovecot connection back on Mission Ridge, Dovecot, that subdivision, which is, if you've not driven back there, if you've not had a reason to, the third phase, they're about ready for vertical construction. So that subdivision is about built out. This time next year, I anticipate it to be built out. So that's about 200 plus homes that kids currently do not have a safe route to school. And then the Senior Center crosswalk, that's providing an additional safety crosswalk in the area of the Senior Center, and then 19th Street crosswalks. That's, like I said, improving safety and crosswalks on those sections. Here is a rendering of what the Nation Road sidewalk project, what we envision is going to look like. Obviously, currently, this is the Hills of Westwood, Nation Road. This whole sidewalk is not there. We obviously paint a beautiful picture of what a safe route and a safe sidewalk could be for our community. I think it's pretty self-explanatory and easy to, when I'm talking about two police officers, an animal control officer, thank you, Jim. But I did want to spend some time and kind of show some additional detail on that itself. Rest of the time this evening, I would like to open it up for any question or answers that anybody may have. I appreciate you being here and appreciate the opportunity to give you some factual information. Are there any questions?
I like how the projects for the sidewalks and crossings have a future. We know it won't all get funded this first year, but it's a good reason to adopt this sales or use tax, I feel, because we can keep working on that. They're all very important. I'm someone that lives out in Stone Lake, and I think that it would be a tremendous safety enhancement to get that sidewalk done along the east side of Stone Lake, connect to the community or to the subdivision, but more importantly, that flashing light there where the path, the walking trail crosses 19th Street. That is I worry a lot because so many kids use that and so many residents use it in walking.
Well, I understand the importance of a crosswalk there, but you're coming down the hill and kind of going up, so just safety needs to be improved in that area in general.
Yeah, but I like the idea that you've got a vision beyond the first year.
Absolutely.
It's a very good one for the whole community to see.
I appreciate that comment. What's exciting to me about it is obviously, as you know, my son's in middle school, as a parent in the community, obviously as mayor of the community, I've got a vested interest from many aspects. But this is impacting every piece of our city, in an area that we can improve on in every piece of our city. Yes, sir.
I particularly own the property over in Regency, and with no sidewalks there, kids and families and everything walk right down the streets all the time because there's no safe place to walk. And they're constantly moving, around because of cars and or the kids because they're out in the street, but there's nowhere for them to go, to ride their bikes. That's a really great deal.
I'm big on providing safe routes to schools, safe pedestrian routes. But even before me, our board has made that a priority as well. And I know that some people say, oh, well, just because you build the sidewalks, people won't use them. Our community, every project I've seen our community build, 92, the 92 highway sidewalk project, the project that we just completed, which I knew about. A resident came to me and said, hey, why don't we have a connector from Brookhaven? I'm like, that's a good question. And we figured it out. But to see them utilized and to see, people have that safe route is amazing. So I do think people would utilize it, and it would really improve the safety for our community. Yes, ma'am.
Sidewalks are the number one priority. That's what'll happen first. I mean, you've got a list of the items. Is that the number one?
So my commitment as mayor and as board is, when the use tax passes, is we're going to immediately start working on the list of police, parks, pets, and pathways. So our first sidewalk project we've identified is the Nation Road project. We're going to immediately start looking to find 2 additional police officers. We're going to immediately look at hiring an animal control officer, and then finalize plans for the senior park and the pickleball courts. As I mentioned, like the community has seen this board here, I feel that our board has done a great job. Our current board, what we've said we're going to do, we've done. Our splash park's a good example of that. The dog park and Jesse James Park's a good example of that. Just a few examples. I'm telling you, I'm committed, and obviously in person and recording, that these projects identified will happen when it passes. And it's not going to be one or the other. These are the projects that we're committed to improving our community with. The $200,000 identified for parks, obviously that's not going to develop a park, let alone 2. we'll utilize that money to debt service, initiative to pay for those parks. But that's how we'll identify how we're gonna pay for those parks, that annual debt service. That answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, great. Any other questions from the audience? Ryan, do we have anybody online?
We currently do not, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I was wondering, we've wondered this for years, when, these neighborhoods are first developed, how come the developer doesn't put the sidewalks in on day one?
Very good question, and I guarantee that's one that you're not the only one that says, hey, why is this a problem? As Kearney's evolved, as we've grown, we've become better at implementing codes and restrictions and rules. And if you look now at any new subdivision that goes in, they're, you know, and some people call them sidewalks to nowhere. We're growing, folks. They're not gonna be sidewalks to anywhere for long. That is a requirement. As the development's being developed, Cottonwood Creek's an example of that right now. Even though there's no sidewalks in front of Hills of Westwood, the city's requiring that developer to pour the concrete for sidewalks along Nation Road now. The phase that's going along now is, I was out there a week ago, I saw it was framed up for sidewalks, but I hope that answered your question. As Kearney's gotten better, as codes have evolved, as we've gotten bigger, that is a requirement now. It has not always been that way.
We built a house on Meadowbrook Drive by Summit Trail
Larry Pratt.
about 15 years ago.
Larry, I think it's your call.
And we were told that we had to pay for the sidewalk vehicle in front of our house.
Cheers.
That was just part of the deal, you know, we had to, no choice. Yeah. But after we moved in, then the city takes ownership of the sidewalk. I'm going, what kind of deal is that? I mean, you know, how'd that happen? That doesn't even make sense. I'm gonna build something and I'm gonna give it to the city.
Well, that's fairly
I
common.
mean, I don't mind it.
Yeah, sure,
I mean,
sure.
kids walk up and down there all the time to school. But then we also, realized that we had the sidewalks running in front of the schools on Pride Drive. You turn on Meadowbrook, go to the east, and that's one of the sidewalks you're putting in.
Yes, sir, the Dovecot connector, yes.
And, that sidewalk was never put in. We were there for 14 years. Schools had been there before we were, and nobody ever put a sidewalk in there in that whole time frame.
So,
We always wondered
yeah,
why somebody was making the kids walk in the street after they got past the front of our house.
and that
All the way to school.
that's exactly where not only are we doing better, we gotta continue to do better and provide safe routes for these kids.
I mean, I'm just saying,
Right.
I did not understand that process, having to pay for a sidewalk in front of our house. And then the city owns it after we put it in.
Well, I'll tell you, our developers, they understand now that that's a cost of them doing business. And that's just not the city of Kearney that has that requirement now. You know, that's straight across the board. You know, I obviously can't speak for other municipalities, but I do know that, you know, that's a cost of doing business. If you're gonna develop in our community, we want you to be a good community partner, and we want you to provide those safe routes. That, you know, that's just a cost of doing business. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. I just wanted to,
What it is.
Yeah.
But they're trying to make it better. By having,
Right.
Yeah.
where there aren't sidewalks that need to be.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, obviously the goal will be, I would love to see the day when we could reappropriate that $150,000 annually to something else, because we don't have a list anymore, right? We, you know, because we don't have that problem anymore in our community. At that point, it'll be probably reallocating it back to sidewalks that need to be replaced. You know, there's gonna always be a need. I'm loving the questions. I really honestly do appreciate the opportunity to provide factual information to you, and I guarantee you, if you have the question, somebody else probably has the same question. So, I encourage you to keep on, put me on the spot and ask me your questions.
Is it the intention to have a sidewalk on every street in every neighborhood, at least on one side or the other? Because Regency just full of streets with no sidewalks.
Yeah, there's, to where, there's areas in our community, I mean, this isn't our full list, right? The list that you're seeing here, is an easy target. It's a list that staff's identified as a priority, residents have identified as a priority. This isn't the complete list. So, and if I didn't make that clear, I'm glad that you gave me the opportunity to make sure I did communicate that. This is a priority list only. This is the easy target list. So, yes, I'll say it's my goal as mayor to provide as many safe routes in our community as we can. And this is a good start. Yes, sir.
I also have a question. You were saying that the tax would be 3%. Now, if I sell something in Kearney, the tax is way above 3%. Is it that tax or is it 3%?
Yeah, so if you look at the tax that's collected, you know, the 8.475%, not all of that goes to the city of Kearney, right? So when I'm saying that 3% does, that's what the city of Kearney collects. There's, you know, county and state and other taxes, that's part of that whole collection. So that's when I'm saying 3%, I'm not saying 3% on top of anything. I'm saying you're gonna pay that same percentage, whether it would be here in Kearney, or you buy it from Phoenix, Arizona, you pay the same rate, and never both, and not a penny more. Does that make sense? Okay.
Really, they raised the price of goods bought online. 3%.
No,
It's just 3%.
it allows us to collect the 3%.
Okay.
Yeah. And you say how that happens is that there's the Missouri Department of Revenue, as they collect taxes right now for municipalities, you know, we don't collect direct. But they have a system that essentially, once the voters approve a use tax, they turn it on, and those revenues come to the city. So, it's a nexus system is what they call it, and that's the system that monitors and if you have a use tax or not. Any other questions? Chad?
Jack,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
my question is, probably, I don't have any idea how many new houses have been built in Kearney the last few years, but how does that affect the tax base?
So,
Every new house and every house that's being built, that increases the Kearney tax, so how's that being distributed, and how does that work with the use tax? And
yeah, fair question. So we, obviously, as a city, our revenue comes from tax revenue. Two types. There is property tax revenue and sales tax revenue. What funds our city overwhelmingly is sales tax revenue. And, not discrediting what we receive in real estate taxes, right? But when you look at what the city receives in that annual sales tax allotment compared to our other taxing partners and everybody else involved, it's very minimal. So as our community continues to grow, obviously that will bring additional homes in our community that would allow the opportunity for people to shop local, spend money local, collect the real estate tax piece of it too. But that also equally taxes our services too. It requires more police to protect our community, more personnel to plow roads, take care of things, improve parks, expand parks, the school district, our fire district. So when you're looking at how we operate our city, what really feeds our general fund that allows us to not only operate and deliver and provide the services and amenities that our community demands and deserves is the sales tax piece of it. We're going to continue to grow in Kearney, we're the gem of the Northland, right? I mean, the secret's out. Everybody's going to, growth is going to continue to happen in our community. That's going to create challenges, and so we're going to have to be able to continue to expand our services as we grow. So maybe a follow-up, a quick answer to that long question. The answer I just gave you is real estate taxes obviously do help fund our city, but it's the sales tax piece that really funds our general fund that allows us to operate. Does that answer your question at all? Okay. Jim, do you have anything to add to that?
Good, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
you go out to Davy Cox's and buy a $10,000 lawnmower, you're paying the city sales tax on it. What percentage of that is gonna be the use tax?
So none. So right now, when the use tax passes, you will not pay a penny more for an item you're buying in Kearney today than you will, tomorrow, than you will April 3rd after it goes into effect. If you go to Lawrence, Kansas, to Dave's competitor, and buy a lawnmower from Dave's competitor, he can sell it to you, $200 more, but not having to pay that tax rate, that unfair, it creates that level playing field. It allows you to pay the same tax rate if you buy that lawnmower from Dave Cox or buy it from Lawrence, Kansas. So goods you're buying today inside Kearney from a Kearney retailer, your tax rate does not increase. You pay the same as you are today.
Buy something online, and you're gonna pay the 3% tax, right? Out of state, like if you buy something online, and then you're gonna have to pay a use tax on that, do I understand that?
To the equivalent of the Kearney sales tax rate. So it's not double taxation. You pay one or the other, never both.
So if you bought something online, and you just pay the Kearney sales tax, which is or whatever it is.
Well, the total tax is a little over 8%, but Kearney's portion is that same 3%. So, but yes, so you're not paying, you will never pay a use tax and a sales tax combined. It's one or the other. And the difference there is, the only difference is, you'll never notice, once it passes, whether you buy it online or buy it local, because it'll all be taxed the same. It's not double either way.
Just get a percentage of it, like if you buy something.
Like we do now.
3%.
Like we do now. It keeps that money that's, instead of going to Lawrence, Kansas, or Phoenix, Arizona, or wherever you're buying something online, instead of supporting that community that has no vested interest in our community, that doesn't support our boys at Friday night on the football team, that doesn't donate to help us put our splash park in, it keeps that money local to where you can see it impact your family, your kids. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Maybe in the long run, because I'm over why they've off of Geneva. I think the city should look into getting a 9/11 operator for the police department. Because we've had problems down there a couple of times. We've had to call the cops. It takes almost close to 40 minutes for the cops to get there. Even though I know I had to relay the message from the 9/11 from Clay County to the police officers here. But
Mr. Fitzgerald, I know, I'll talk with Chief Carey. I wasn't aware that we've ever had a police response that slow, even if our officers are actively busy on other calls. We have mutual aid agreements with other
we
agencies.
just seen my house a couple of times, and thank God they got there real quick. Because one police officer brought my daughter in, her baby girl into the world. It was his first baby being delivered.
Yes, sir. I'm aware of that.
And he didn't beat the ambulance there.
We've got an amazing leader of our police department, of Chief Carey. We've got an amazing partnership and a relationship with our Fire and Rescue Protection District, and I'm super proud of all of our first responders. Going to do my best to continue to fully fund our police department, make sure they have the tools and resources necessary, and continue to add additional officers on the streets to allow us to be one of the safest communities in Missouri. That doesn't happen by accident, folks. Once again, last year, Kearney was one of the top 10 safest communities in Missouri, and I'm going to do my best as mayor. Our board's going to do our best to continue to make sure that we are consistently on that list. Brian, is there anybody online yet?
No, sir, there's not.
I'm here till at least 8, so, if you have any other questions, I'm happy to address them. Once again, I appreciate the opportunity to answer your questions. That's been a good discussion, and, please remember to vote next Tuesday. Yeah, there was a question online from an individual that's no longer here, but I would still like to, they took the time to ask a question, so I'd like to give them the opportunity to address this question. And that is, how can you budget to the penny money you do not have, or if this does pass, only an estimate? Also, how does it level the playing field where we don't have the stores in town to even compete? I'll address that first. It levels the playing field because it gives our local businesses that invest in our community, that allow us opportunity to collect sales tax, to operate those amenities. It gives our residents the opportunity to support them. It makes it fair. It doesn't give anybody the advantage to leave our community and go put those dollars to use somewhere else that doesn't care about the city of Kearney. How can you budget to the penny money you do not have, or if this does pass, only an estimate? Every budget we do is an estimate, right? I wish I could guarantee what our tax revenues are going to be year after year. What I will say is to where I've only been mayor of this community for 2.5 years. I'm a lifelong resident of the community, and not only the city, but our other taxing partners, meaning in our community, specifically the school district and the fire and rescue protection district, have always been damn good stewards of the taxpayer dollars. Clean audits have always done a good job of representing the taxpayers and making good decisions on how we operate and how we utilize those funds. So, as with anything, I've totally tried to improve the transparency of City Hall. Since mayor, we are recording every meeting. We have them live. We've improved our online website where you have access to recordings and minutes and agendas. The information's out there if anybody would ever want to review it, ask any other specific questions on the budget or that process. I'm here to serve the city. I'm here to serve the residents. That's my job. So, instead of assuming, I appreciate the question and the opportunity to address those questions. Yes, sir.
A budget is a guideline.
Absolutely. There is no guarantees with anything, let alone with revenues. I mean, the pandemic hit us. Who knew the pandemic was going to hit us? That threw curveballs at our budget. I worked extremely hard with our city administrator. We worked through 2 budget models that, thank goodness, we didn't have to implement. We've got a dedicated board. We've got dedicated staff, and we'll do our best.